Kararan Vintage Shop Guide. A local Japanese vintage clothing lover introduces Japanese vintage shops. I visited second clothing stores in various regions and recommend the best ones. 8 recommended best vintage clothing thrift stores in Akihabara and Ueno, Tokyo, Japan. I actually went to second-hand clothing stores around Akihabara and Ueno. The Akihabara/Ueno area straddles Chiyoda Ward and Taito Ward in Tokyo. There are many stations in the area, such as Yushima, Nakaokachimachi, Suehirocho, Uenohirokoji, Shinokachimachi, Okachimachi, and Uenookachimachi. A city with various faces, such as the anime town and cyber town in Akihabara, and the renovated cafes around Ueno. Akihabara and Ueno are surprisingly close and within walking distance. It's a nice area for a walk as there are many small interesting shops. There aren't many second-hand clothing stores, but there are a few. 1. Kararan Vintage Shop Guide. A local Japanese vintage clothing. Closed mode off Akihabara. Closed in 2022. It is now hard off. Closed mode off Akihabara. Closed in 2022. It is now hard off. Mode off, hobby off on the west side of Akihabara station. Mode off. It is close to the station, and there are many hobby shops around. Akihabara's only vintage clothing store and recycle shop. There is a 300 yen corner at the store. Cheap, but poor quality. There are 3 floors mainly for used clothes. The basement is a cheap corner for 1,000 yen or less. Mainly men's. Impression that there were a lot of t-shirts. Akihabara and Ueno areas are home to many tourists and inbound tourists, so there are plenty of suitcases. The first floor is mainly used brand clothing. To be honest, I didn't think the price was so low. The store area is small, but there are 3 floors, so there is a lot of space. There weren't many vintage finds. Second floor mainly used men's clothing. Is Akihabara the only second-hand clothing store that sells anime t-shirts? Laughs, it's rare, so it's worth a look. It's interesting that they sell a lot of anime t-shirts. Mr. Mommy. Fashion Recycle Tanpopo House Uenohirokoji. Tanpopo House is located on the south side of Ueno Station in the direction of Akihabara. Second-hand clothing store/recycle shop Tanpopo House Vanvert. It is easy to understand as it faces the main street. It's within walking distance from Ueno Station, but it's surprisingly walkable. Anyway, they sell miscellaneous things, and there is something worth digging for used clothes. Sometimes vintage is mixed, so it's also suitable for stocking. I always go without expecting much, but I feel like I'm buying something every time. This place is mostly recycled used clothes, but it's cheap anyway. From 100 yen, clothes are sold anyway. Kids, children's clothes, women's, men's, all available. I wonder if there are many ladies. There is a 100 yen corner in the basement. Anyway, the density is amazing, so the number of products is overwhelming. Harold Thrift Store. A vintage clothing store in a back alley near Okachimachi station. The name thrift store is good because it gives you an American feel. HTTP URL. It's a roadside store, so if you go there, you'll know right away. Both men's and women's are available. I wonder if there are a little more ladies. Rather than a recycle shop, it's a second-hand clothing store with a large number of products, so it's worth seeing. I wonder if there are many about 2,000 to 5,000 yen. I had the impression that they had a particularly good selection of retro-style shirts, full-patterned shirts, dresses, and poly shirts. Pop and Kaji. Nakata Shoten. A mecca for military items in Tokyo. I think many people know. Military shop leather jacket Nakata Shoten. Since it's in Ameoko, it's easy to find and easy to stop by. Anyway, military type, military goods, military, and workwear from all over the world are available. There is also a second store. It's not a second-hand clothing store or a vintage shop, but it has dead stock military goods with high rarity value. Some are cheap at around 3,000 yen at the sale corner. Leather jackets are also available, and I'm thinking that I want a mod's coat every time. Personally, I prefer the second store, Okachimachi store, where the products are sold in a mess. Amerikaya Ueno. Famous American casual shop in Ameoko. 610 Amerikaya. Mainly a selection of American casual brands for men. They also carry some used clothes. Mode off Uenookachimachi branch. Mode off in the shopping district of Ueno. Mode off Uenookachimachi store, Tokyo, paid shop hard off group. Walking distance from Ueno station. The izakaya and Ameoko are also close by, so I often went there before meeting up. I'm glad that it's a 4-story building and all second-hand clothes. Both women's and men's are available. We have a wide selection of items, from cheap second-hand clothes for around 300 yen to brand name second-hand clothes. The density is amazing because the store is small. Is there a lot of prices around 2,000 to 5,000 yen? Mode off doesn't give the impression that it's cheap, but there's a lot of it, so there are occasional bargains. It is highly rated for its good location and easy access. Bukoff Plus Uenohirokoji store, Bukoff Plus. A store at a large intersection at Uenohirokoji station. It's not a roadside store, so it doesn't stand out, but the store is surprisingly large. Second-hand clothes are not the main thing, so I don't visit often, but they sell brand-name second-hand clothes. Bukoff Plus Uenohirokoji store Bukoff if you want to sell books. Upper. One of the few vintage clothing stores in Ueno. HTTP URL. Mainly men's vintage American clothing. There is a very good selection of used American sports clothes such as basketball, baseball, and American football. A lot of baseball jackets are also available. The price is often around 10,000 yen. There are many products on the first floor above ground and first basement floor. There are also plenty of accessories such as baseball caps and sneakers. A shop with a good concept featuring hip-hop vintage clothing and fashion. Upper.